And now, I'd like to welcome your guest speaker, Professor Rob Sarney. Hi, everybody. My name is Rob Sarney, and I'm a professor of practice at Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Worcester, Massachusetts. And I'm a professor of practice in finance and fintech. Now, professor of practice means that I've come from industry. So I've only been a professor for 1 year, but I've been in industry and in the financial industry for 31 years. I have my accounting and finance undergraduate degree and an MBA, and I'm really enjoying teaching. Now, today's talk, it's really about strategic financial management and budgeting planning, like the title says. Now, I know that sounds pretty boring, but when I go through it, you're going to learn the fundamentals, whether you're starting a company, whether you're in a company working, whether you're a leader, whether you own a company, whether you're trying to run it, whether you're a department head, and your own personal finances when you're running your house and your own expenses. It's all the same fundamentals. So you're going to learn so much. It's going to help you in so many elements of your life. Let's get this started. Okay, now first, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. The All Truth Abiders, I think it's great. You're running this forum and bringing people in from many different countries, the United States, Australia, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, if I pronounced that rightly. Hopefully I did. And I think that's awesome. And I'm really, really thankful that you considered me to be part of this great forum. So I hope you enjoy it. So let's get this going now. Okay, so first, I had a mentor, and he said this to me. He asked me, he said, Rob, do you want to put the lug nuts on cars each day, or do you want to design the next car of the future? And of course, my answer was, oh, I want to design the next car of the future. I mean, who wants to put on lug nuts all day? Well, someone does, but not myself. And that question really stuck home with me for most of my career. And it really got me thinking, like, you really don't just be a person that's putting the lug nuts on, just doing your job as you come to work. You want to be innovative. You want to really understand what's going on in your company or in your job or how you're going to help your customer. All those things are so important. And that's how you're going to know it, by designing the next car of the future and really planning in advance. Now, that's really the key, I think, to in really enjoying your job and looking forward and learning and understanding your finances is probably the most important thing for you to really excel in your job, no matter what level you're at. Because no matter what you do in work and in life, everything in life costs, whether it's time at a business or materials or whatever it is. Life costs and everything costs. Even us being in this meeting right now costs somebody, costs you, your time, your opportunity costs. So that always stuck home, that be a person that wants to design that next car of the future. And to do that well, you need to know your costs. And the end game with understanding your finances, the bottom line, just like Obi-Wan to Luke Skywalker, you want to be a trusted advisor, a consultant, a leader, by turning that financial data that people have a very hard, difficult time understanding with all the terminology. Take that financial data, turn it into knowledge, then into action, and then into results. And that's what we're really going to talk about with the proper strategic planning and budgeting. Now, financial data is used by everybody. So many different types of people in an organization, whether you're wearing many hats of these people or it's a large organization and there's many people doing these hats. So first, the CEO. The CEO wants to know the financials. They're going to look at it from a very different perspective. They're going to look at it across the whole company. The CIO, the Chief Information Officer, the IT person. Well, that person's going to want to know from an IT perspective, how are we spending the right money to what we need to do for the business? Same information, but with a different lens. The CFO is looking at all the financials. Are we being solvent? How can we run this company? Do we have liquidity problems? That's all based on the cost and what you do. Your business partners care about your finances. Are they going to be working with you if you're not a company that has enough money to even deliver what you say you're going to deliver? Of course they care about your finances. You're always delivering. You have product and project managers always delivering. They need to understand the cost so they can collect the cost, understand it, drive those projects to increase the capital, increase the company's value for forever and ever. You, that's me, by the way. You and your peers care about that no matter what role. And you can help your peers. If you're the one who understands the cost, think through the cost and understand everything costs money. You have finance support, and that could be your accountant. That could be your in-house finance team. They really understand your costs, but you need to help them understand your business. That together is so powerful. Your customers. Why would someone buy your products? They think you're going to go out of business. They're not. They're not going to buy your product. So your customers absolutely care about, are you a financial viable company? Your team, if you're a manager, your team's going to care about that. Do I have a job? What am I doing? What are we doing? Are they helping the company? Are we saving costs? Are we making money? All those important things. So many audiences care. And a very, very important one, your manager. Your manager cares. You care. Your manager cares. Your team cares. You all need to look at these same costs. You all look at them in a different way because you have a different understanding of the different costs based on what you do in that company. Or if you're doing a startup, like I think many of you might be trying to do. Okay, at a very, very, very high level, here's the cycle that you go through for all budgeting. So first, you think through how to budget for income, money coming in, and expenses going out. You plan on that on a monthly basis and on an annual basis. The reason why you at least do your first year, or the current year, I should say, on a monthly basis, so you can really understand your costs. What you think is a total plan. I think I'm going to make this much money, and I think I'm going to spend this much money. Then the actual stock coming in. So you have your money, you get this approved budget that you just got. Actual stock coming in. You need to track those at the same time levels, the monthly and annual level. So that way, when you start comparing those and getting variances, comparing your variances, you know if you're under or over based on what you budgeted for your planning. So you compare those variances at the high level overall. Are we over budget? Are we under budget? Can we spend more money? Can we do more? Can we do more things with the money that we have? Or are we overspending? And at the detailed level, so you know where you're overspending or where you're underspending. And it could be flip-flops because you're never going to get it perfectly. And there's always going to be variances. Now, people always get freaked out with variances. And when you assess your variance, now this is the Rob Sarniism right here. There is no such thing as a good or bad variance. It's only bad if you do not understand it. And that is so critical to understand. And I'll give you one quick, simple example. You might be running a project and you're looking at to spend $1 million by the end of the year. And in the first month, you find out, oh, we spent $100,000 this month. Well, if you do the simple math, $100,000 times 12 months, you're going to be over what you originally budgeted by 200,000 because 12 times 100,000 will be $1.2 million. Well, is that a bad thing? It depends. You have to understand why there's a variance there for that first month. And if you project that out, you're going to overspend. That could be a very good thing. It could be that you're underspending, you're getting work done earlier. And then you got to look and plan out, are we still going to spend that type of level? And you say, no, we got it done so early. Now we can spend less overall. That could be a great thing. Now you're going to come in with more savings for the company. But also you could be over saving. And you might be saying, whoa, we spent 100,000. We didn't even get what we wanted for that 100,000. We're going to have to spend more, and maybe it's more than 1.2 million. So you need to assess your variances. Just because it's a variance doesn't mean it's a good or bad thing until you understand it. Once you know from that analysis, is it good or bad, then you can have an operational, a business decision. You can change direction if needed. You could stop a project early enough because you're going to overspend. It might be worth taking the loss, stopping the project because you know you're going to overspend because your original budget and income of expenses was incorrect. Or you could start moving and changing your costs, getting cheaper costs because you know you're going to be over. Or you could stay on track and start updating your budget that you're actually going to spend less because you're going to use that money for another project to start up mid-year. So always change your direction. Once you know something, make that change appropriately in your forecast so then you can manage your money better. And this is the same thing as when you're running your own household also. So now we're going to get a little deeper into this in some of the real finer points, which I think will really hit home with you. And I think you really, really like this. So I'm going to give you 6 fundamentals that you have to know inside and out, no matter where you're looking and planning your money. Understand your strategic business goals and needs. That's first and foremost. Before you even start talking about how much something costs, for planning purposes, what are those goals? What are those needs? And to do that, you need to seek to understand. You need to talk to people. You need to learn. You need to understand what needs to get done. And then you can cost it. So I'm a big Stephen Covey fan. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Highly recommend that book. But Stephen Covey, one of his rules are seek to understand before you can be understood. So do your research. Really understand where people are coming from. What are they doing? And how are they doing it? And is that a cost-effective way for your finances? And then if you have recommendations, they'll definitely listen to you because you'll be understood because you really understand your business really well. These goals will be your North Star. Like I mentioned before, things are going to change. You're going to have variances, but you always stick to what your key priorities and business goals are. Those will be your North Star to keep going or to change, because if it's not part of your North Star, if it's not part of your strategic goals and needs, then why are you spending money on it? It makes no sense. Stop that. If it's not your core business, don't spend money on it. So figure that out. Know why these goals are important. Why they're important to you. Why they're important to your company. Why is it important to your customers? Why is it important to your employees? All those people care. All the people you saw, it's important. So know what's important. And make sure you know your priorities because you're going to make trade-offs. You're going to have to make some hard decisions. Spend money here, slow down money there, because money's not infinite. So you have to plan your money appropriately so you can make the maximum growth for your company. Now, number 2. Now, finance is very data and systems and process focused, and you need to understand what are those data and systems and processes for those costs, because we're in a digitally, progressive world right now. Finance and money movement is all digital now. So you need to understand how that money is coming in, getting costed, getting billed, and when it happens. So there are multiple costs from different systems. You need to know that. You're going to have labor for time card entry. You're going to have materials. You're going to have purchase orders come in. You're going to have inventory. You're going to have to pay your heating bills. You're going to have maybe have a building, or maybe you have to set up a website. No, multiple costs are going to come in from different systems. And some might be from paper, some might be from your credit card, some might be from the bank, some might be getting billed or automatically getting transferred. You need to understand what those systems are and what costs are coming in from those systems. Know the timing of that. Knowing the timing of your costs and when you need to pay them are so important. Companies do not go bankrupt because of them not making a lot of money. It's because of them not paying their bills. So you need to make sure you have the right liquidity. So you're paying your bills at the right time. Otherwise, even if you have so many orders and so much business, but if you can't pay your bills and you can't keep your heat on and you can't pay your employees because you don't have enough liquidity and know the timing and the flow of your costs and the data and the reporting, and you're not going to stay in business. It's not going to happen. So you need to know that really well. IT is everywhere in every business. Know your IT and business process behind that data. Know the people, know the processes, and know how that data is moving and what is reliable and what's not reliable. That's very important because sometimes you might be getting operational type data and you might not believe it because you know people aren't entering the right data for their time card or whatever it is. And they might have to have better processes so you have better cost information. And that goes back to knowing the rigor of the teams providing the data. That is so, so critical. Now, third, you need to know your fundamentals, the building blocks. And I'm going to go through some of those. Now, there's different levels of planning you need to think through. There's a multi-year plan. Now, all companies, all households, everybody should be doing these types of fundamentals. So look out for 3 years. Now, if it's your household, you probably want to look out a little further. And don't go deep in your planning past 3 years. And the reason why I say plan for 3 years out, because this world is moving fast. It is changing so quickly. I mean, if I start planning for 5, 10 years out, the whole world's going to be different by then. Why am I planning on spending money for that when I could be directionally thinking that way, but still assess your plan every year, 3 years out, and keep adjusting it because things happen so fast today. Information travels so fast. Businesses start up, and you'll get buried if you're planning too far out and you're not looking at the immediate 1 year, 2 year, 3 years out. That's called multi-year planning. Your budget. Now, your budget's usually what do I have to spend for this current year? What is my budget? So when January 1st starts, assuming your business starts on January 1st, how much money can I spend? You need to know that. And the reason why I say approved dollars, it's money that you've gotten from a funding standpoint, if you're starting up a business, or the funding you got from running a business unit or a subsidiary in another company. What dollars do you have overall for this year coming up, the current year? And once the year gets going, you need to have a forecast. Usually that starts as day one, say January 1, and costs are coming in, then you start forecasting because you lock your budget in. Your budget is your budget. Unless you get additional funding, you're not getting any more money. And money's not going to come from the sky. So your money is your money, your budget is your budget. But your forecast, how you plan to spend that money, could change on a monthly basis, a weekly basis. You change it based on what your plans are and what actuals are coming in. And then your actuals, your real costs coming in each month. You need to adjust. You'll never get it exactly right because you can't. How are you going to plan out your exact costs when someone's going to bill you and when things are going to get done? You might get close, but you might be way off also. So as actuals come in, you need to adjust that. And you'll need to adjust your forecast also to make sure your planning lines up appropriately to what the real world that's happening around you. Now, estimate complete. That's a combination of actuals and forecast. Now, the importance of that is, say when I say adjust your forecast, actuals came in. And if you want to see and start doing variance comparisons, you can compare your budget to your forecast. You can compare your budget to your actuals. You can compare your forecast to your actuals. But a real good thing to compare is your EAC. Now, that is for the actuals that have come in to date. Say it's March 1st right now. We'll just say that hypothetically. So I have had costs come in for January and February. And then I look at my forecast from March all the way to December. You add those 12 months together, the 2 months of actuals and the 10 months of forecast, and that's what you're going to spend unless you can adjust your forecast. You can't adjust your actuals. They just happened. They're real. Actuals really happen. Forecast is where you have control to change what you're going to spend and what you're going to do going forward. Now, you get all this planning done. You got to figure out your budgets, your actuals, your EAC, your forecast. Now you got to set up that strong foundation so that all that information flows in like water and with no effort at all. You can just do reporting. So make sure Your multi-year plan, your budget, your actuals, your forecast, your EAC are all connected. What I mean by connected, they are at the same levels. Now, your multi-year plan is going to be higher level than your budget. Your budget is going to be higher level than your actuals. Your forecast and your actuals will be close, but your forecast might be a little higher level than your actuals. And EAC is, as we just talked about, just a combination of months of actuals and the remaining forecast for that year. So make sure they're coming at the same level so you can do proper variance analysis to really understand where are you over, where are you under, where do you have issues, so you can make the right operational decisions. You need to have the proper strategic attribution. Now, if you're doing a project that's for enhancing your customer experience, well, you want to collect your costs at that level. Because then you want to say, did I make money? How much am I going to spend? Because you have budgets for enhancing your customer experience. You might have it on reducing costs on your IT administration. It could be on anything you have from a business project or business strategic standpoint. Make sure you attribute those costs properly or allocate those costs so you know what your costs are coming from for your strategic initiatives that we planned in step one. Know your labor and resources. Labor is usually your biggest expense. Depends on the business, but most likely in the bigger companies, it's all about labor. And I worked in the financial industry, and that was all labor because it's all digitally moving. Know your non-labor. I'm going to use IT as an example. Know how much you're spending for servers, software, training, vendor spend. You need to know those inside out because you'll need to know where you can tweak or where you need to ramp up more costs for so you can increase the value of your company. You need to know those inside and out. And another angle of these costs, you know your fixed costs, your building, your equipment, if you have that in your company. How much is your building cost? How much does it cost to keep it up and running? What type of trucks do I have? What are those costs? You need to know all that, but you also need to know your variable costs. And those could be your production costs, your material costs. Labor could be a part of that. Now, labor goes up if people are working more hours because they're producing more product. You could have some labor that's a fixed cost because they're administrative type costs, so they're not so variable. So even the same type of cost could be a variable or a fixed cost, but mostly building equipment and those types of things are truly fixed. Those are going to be fixed. But you need to know those because those are going to help you manage your costs and make the right operational decisions going forward. Number 5, know the timelines, know your calendar. Now, I'm going to use an example that I've seen traditionally in bigger businesses. Your calendar might be different, but you need to know when you need to do your planning. So usually when the companies I was in, May to July, you do your multi-year planning. Now, you take your old multi-year plan you did for 3 years, forget about the year that's going on. Now you add on a year and you look at that. What I did last year for my years 1, 2, and 3, are those still valid? So you tweak them up or tweak them down because you know more information now. So you update your multi-year plan appropriately. Hopefully you're tweaking the 2 years, the next year and the year after, but then you're adding a new year for your new strategic goals. And does it still fit? Did your goals change? You update your multi-year plan to reflect all that. August and September, now you start doing your budgeting. So you're planning on what am I going to spend for 1 year. Now that first year that's going to happen come January 1, say we're in August or September, well, that should be very close to what you just planned for that same year in your multi-year plan. So directionally, you might not have the same granularity, but should be the same type of fundamental spend. You're going to spend $1 million or $2 million or $50 million, whatever it is, you need to be close to that. Because otherwise, you're going to be going over your multi-year plan later if you don't do that. October to December, now your budget got approved at the end of September. Now you're going to start doing your forecast and then planning for your actuals to come in so you can hit the floor running on January 1st. So people can start charging time to the right strategic projects to help your business move forward. And you can start tracking all that and it flows like water. Have a monthly tracking progress and business progress. Have reporting in place so you can see all this very quickly. Shows you the variances very quickly so you can make the right operational decisions and planning like we talked about before. Usually quarterly reporting, that could be to, if you're starting up a business, that could be to your investors, the people funding you. They want to know what's going on. Or if it's your senior management in a bigger company and you're running a business unit, well, have that reporting. Usually you have to sit down and explain what are you doing, why are you under, why are you over, how are you looking, all that good stuff. And cost, it's all about cost. So they want to know that from an operational standpoint and from a finance and cost standpoint. And one thing I guarantee for you, just like this world we live in, something's going to change. I guarantee it. It's never going to be exactly like you thought. Who thought and planned a year ago that we were going to have COVID-19 come into the world? No, some people might have planned it, but I bet your business didn't plan for this. So you need to have emergency funds. You need to change. You need to be flexible in everything we just talked about. You need to be flexible to be able to change that. Otherwise, you're going to be run over by the change and not be flexible and update your budgets and know how your costs are coming in and what do you need to do to make the right adjustments so you stay a very viable and valuable company. Now, the last one, you need to know your details. You probably got that intuitively just by the things we were talking about, but you need to know them really well. And consistency is so critical, especially in larger companies. You need to call and track and gather and plan and budget very consistently across your whole company. Because if someone's doing something different and don't understand where you budget and plan, and they're going off and doing something else in a business unit or even in a small team of 10, they don't know that, and you're not staying consistent, you're going to be off right from the get-go because people aren't planning and spending and looking at these costs on a regular basis and understand why we're doing it based on number one, our key strategic business goals. Know your labor rates. Different costs. If you're working globally, what does it cost in China? What does it cost in the United States? What does it cost in Africa? All you need to know those costs because different labor might happen in different places. So you need to know those costs, and those could go up or down based on those economies in those countries. So a global economy is exactly that, and you need to be aware of that. Depending on your company, if it's local, then you need to be aware of the levels of your labor rates and what type of skills, and make sure you're not overpaying. And definitely not underpaying because you're good people will leave if you're underpaying them. Know the scope of your projects, or your business. What are you chartered to do? Now, this is a little bit different than your goals because you can still deliver projects. You can still deliver your business in hundreds of different ways. So knowing that, your scope, you can bring your scope up or down based on what your strategic nature is. So you have to know that details very well. Know when deliveries are planned. Know when things are going to happen in your business. The timing of everything is so important. Critical times of when maybe a big shipment's coming in. Maybe you need to deliver a project to get it to your customers because something's happening. If you don't get that in that month, then they won't even use your product. Who knows? Know your deliveries for your customers and how your business is run. And by the way, you're going to be questioned on every single cost all the time. So that's why you need to know your details. Know the timing. Know everything we just talked about from steps 1 all the way to step 6. Know what those are. You're going to be questioned. Senior management's going to question you. Your investors are going to question you. They want to know because who's going to know it better than you? You're the leader. You're the person making this happen. Who's going to know it better than you? No one. So know those inside and out. Otherwise, you'll lose confidence and you might not have that funding that you need going forward. So critical. So these are all very basic and simple things, but so important. Again, whether you're starting a business, whether you're working in a business, whether you're running your household, you have all these considerations. The dollars just change no matter what you do, but the same fundamentals in planning and projects and understand your goals are so important. Hopefully this helped you. Hopefully this helps you moving forward and thinking through these things. Hopefully this helps you to infinity beyond, just like Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story. And I want to end where I started. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I hope this helped you. And if you want to connect with me via LinkedIn, look me up, connect with me, talk to Raymond. Raymond can give you my email if you want to send me an email with any questions on anything that we just talked about, because I could talk for hours on every single bullet that you just saw. So I know I just gave you a teaser, but I hope this helped you. And thank you so much for this opportunity.